It's not safe. Before you cross me, look both ways. Leaving the scene with no trace. None in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top. I'm outer space. Can't eat with us. We're out of place. I'm doing fine. I'm feeling great. You're not my fan. You can't relate. Straight talk going. It's not safe. Before you cross me, look both ways. Leaving the scene with no trace. None in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top. I'm outer space. Can't eat with us. We're out of place. I'm doing fine. I'm feeling great. You're not my fan. You can't relate. Straight talk going state to state.
What's going on, guys? It's your host, your boy, George Mackay, back here again with another one. And this one is literally going to just break some reality barriers. That's right. Without further ado, let me welcome Miss Reality, the lady from Calabasas, California, just like the Kardashians, Madi, Wrenkowski, the Straight Talk Wrestling. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? I love that tidbit.
That's right. I had to let the people know where you're from. They needed to understand.
Course.
They have to understand.
I am. Yeah, I'm the unofficial fourth Kardashian sister. So
that's right. That's
it only makes sense.
And you're probably a lot more level-headed and not as crazy. You don't post drunk YouTube videos of makeup, instructions and then punch out backgrounds of walls. I saw that video this morning. And that was.
Oh, you might have to send that to me. I don't think I've seen that one yet.
I will. That's on which one is it? One of the Kardashian sisters has a YouTube page and she does like drunk makeup tutorials with her other sister. And they did like 9 shots of tequila last night and they got all kinds of stupid. It's the
that sounds like my kind of show.
It's the twins, the Jenner twins.
Kylie and Kendall.
Yeah. So like,
I gotta get on that.
You have to get on that. You have to.
Apparently, I need to subscribe.
But today it's all about you. It's all about the future of the business, and I consider you to be one of the ladies that's the future. If anybody doesn't know, they've seen you on AEW Dark multiple times. Most recently, this past Tuesday, you had an incredible match with Vixen and you won. And I believe that's your 3rd appearance on Dark, and that is now your 1st win. So you are 1-2. Am I right?
Wrong. I've been on Dark, I think maybe 5 times total. I had 2 appearances maybe last year.
December. 2 appearances in December.
Yeah, right around the end.
Yeah.
And then my first win that I actually picked up was against Leva Bates.
Okay.
In our 2nd matchup.
Right.
So she got 1, I got 1.
That's the one she won though was really unfair because there was a book. There was a book that was kind of used and the ref let it slide, and I didn't really appreciate that, Maddie. I didn't. I thought it was unfair advantage. He should have said, no, I'm not going to pin because you got a super kick in the face with the book in front of your face. That's not really fair.
See, yeah, but I'm gonna need you to. I'll try and figure out how I can send you the other match so you can see. I got what was mine.
Perfect. Well, let's talk about that for a second because I don't know if that was a great career move. You were ripping up the Young Bucks book, and they are the high ups in AEW. Like you were ripping. I know it was a shot at Leva, but you were ripping up the book. Like that's a free copy. I would have wanted that.
Well, she said that she read it and like that's how she was doing all those super kicks so well. So I was singing it for knowledge. I was putting it to the test because in the 2nd matchup that we had, my good friend and announcer for AEW, Justin Roberts, he came through and his very, very hard-hitting book helped me secure a win.
Okay. Well, then kudos to Justin Roberts for making that happen. I'm 150%. So I know that I know you were trained by Jazz, and now you're currently training with Jazz and Thunderrosa at the Dog Pound Dojo. So I gotta ask this because Jazz is a legend, as is Thunderrosa, both intense. But I've had Thunderrosa on the show, and she's all smiles, she's laughable, she has good conversations, and I know she's passing on a wealth of knowledge because I have seen you grow in the matches that I've watched on AEW Dark. But I know Jazz has to be super intense. So this may get you in trouble at the dojo, but I got to ask this question. Who do you prefer training with? Thunderrosa, who's probably just as intense, but a little bit more easygoing, or the straight up Jazz, who looks like she rarely smiles unless you really impress her?
Love them both equally, but Jazz, me and her have shared a Kardashian connection.
Okay.
On a trip, we sat and we watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians before we went to a venue. So we have that bond, that Kardashian bond. So.
And I got to ask, you got to be a little heartbroken, right? The Kardashian, keeping up with the Kardashians, it's ending. It's over. This is the last season.
Yes, but it's last season on E. They're moving to Hulu. I think they have more creative freedom there on Hulu, or more like say in what goes in the show.
And
so,
they could probably
there.
Yeah, and they could probably swear and do a lot more like cooler shit, right, on Hulu.
Well, maybe. I know like in the beginning seasons, Scott and Rob were like doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff, but we don't see them as much anymore. They've toned down in their age.
Yeah, as you get older. I mean, I myself am getting up there, but you yourself are not. You are just the bright, bushy-tailed, bright-eyed age of 21, if I've done my research correct. 21?
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay. Never ask a woman her age. Never ask a woman her age. I've been told that. But I got to ask, and this is a question that I think you've probably been asked 1,000 times before. Where did the love for wrestling start? Where did the passion for the business start?
Yeah. So it actually started with my brother. I have 3 other siblings, but all of us are girls except for my one brother. And so I kind of became my brother's brother. So he found it and he was instantly attached to it. And me being my brother's brother, I would watch it with him. And that's kind of how I started watching it. But for sure, Team Extreme and Lita are the ones that caught our attention like instantly, obviously, and you have to practice on each other. So swanton bombs off of the beds and stuff like basically is what got us there. But then every like Christmas or so, my brother would always get a wrestling game.
Okay.
So that kind of kept it going, because that was like the only game that we would play on any of the consoles. It was just always wrestling. Oh, look, he got a James Bond game. Wrestling.
Throw that James Bond game away and it's all about wrestling after that. So Lita,
yeah, that's what it felt like.
Yeah, well, Lita and Team Extreme, those are great people to obviously idolize and stuff like that. And then when did you decide, though? I mean, that's where you fell in love with it. Those were early influences. But when did you decide and you just turn around and said, you know what, that's it. I'm doing it. I'm taking the leap and I'm going to go into this crazy business.
Yeah. So I was actually in college at the time at Texas State University, and midterms and finals, they always like get you. They get you because they're like, hey guys, this is what we learned, and I'm like, when? I don't remember any of this. And so I was just like, my brain was hurting, and I was like, I'm gonna quit school. I'm gonna become a wrestler. And my mom's like, no, you're not. You're gonna get your degree first before you ruin your life. And I was like, bet. So I got my degree. I ended up finding a job in the parks, in a state park, Hawaii Volcano National Park. About 2 or so weeks before I was supposed to go, though, the volcano erupted. And so I considered that as fate. And then at that point, I was like, okay, this wasn't meant to be. Tried to do it the normal way, but now it's time to do wrestling. That was like the first thing my brain went to, like once I was like, okay, this isn't gonna happen. I was like, let's find a wrestling school. So I went online, the trusty Google, and I found out that Booker T offers a fantasy camp, which is like a 3-hour course, one day out of the weekend, and basically just gives you a taste of wrestling. And I was like, I should try it out before I just dive in. And I did. And I ended up meeting Gino Medina. He is with MLW, and he's also one of the trainers at Booker T's school. And he introduced me to Chris Marvel, who is in the city over, which is actually where I began my training, is at Hybrid School of Wrestling in San Antonio. So it's kind of like just a chain of events right after that. So we move quick.
That's right. No, that's huge fate. You're right. Volcano erupts. I'm going to get a little taste. And Gino, I know Gino very, very well. I actually am a big MLW fan. I have a side podcast called the MLW Rewind. So I know Gino very, very well. And I talk about him all the time whenever he's on the show, of course. He's a great, great talent for sure. Definitely can't wait to see him and Richard Holiday tangle, because I know that's going to happen very soon. And but that's incredible. So Hybrid, you start training there. And
Yes.
I gotta ask, because this is always a cool question to ask, is character development. When did we literally see the start of Miss Reality?
Yeah, so Miss Reality, I would say the name kind of is the only thing that was developed. Like, one of my first seminars at Hybrid was an Eddie Kingston seminar.
Cool.
And the main takeaway I got, not one of the first seminar I ever went to was Eddie Kingston. And the biggest takeaway that I got was that when you go into this business, the people will buy into you. If you believe in yourself, if you believe in what you are saying, then the people will be with you. And he basically preached about being real, being who you are, being genuine. And that is Miss Reality. I am real. This is me. If there's something I don't like, I'm going to say it. Like you mentioned a little bit before, like I am very expressive with my face, whether that's in the ring, in the stands at Dynamite, like it just, it's me. Like it's literally just me. And it kind of just all ties in because it's the realism, because it is me, but I also love reality television, which is where the Kardashians come into play. I love them, love the Kardashians. So that's why my Twitter is full of Kardashian gifts.
It is. It really, really is. When I was doing my research, you always want to go back and you want to look at the Twitters, you want to look at the socials, you want to look at what everybody posts and a taste of who they are. Because as much as I appreciate the talent level that you have, and I really, really do, I'm a big advocate of women's wrestling. I'm a proud girl dad. I have two wonderful little girls, my 11-year-old who is all kinds of sass, all kinds of sarcasm, a budding teenager. And the reason why my hairline is all the way back here when it used to be somewhere around here. And my 4-year-old who is the future of wrestling. She has the best arm bar in the game. She has almost made me tap out on numerous occasions. And I have taught her, I don't know much about wrestling, but I taught her how to do an arm bar, and I've almost got her on a sleeper. And let me tell you, she can really put the pressure on a sleeper. And I've had to and she's only 4. And I'm not afraid to admit it. My 4-year-old daughter has kicked my ass, and I am okay with that. I am okay with that.
Slightly terrifying, but yes.
Don't worry, she's coming. Madi, before you know it, 10, 15 years down the road, she's coming. So if you rock in any kind of gold, you're going to see her in a ring very soon. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. So let's talk about a typical day at Dog Pound Dojo. What is training like for you over there? You get in, you put your stuff down, you get geared up, and what do we do on a typical day of training over there?
So one of the, I think, great things about the Dog Pound Dojo, having Thunder and Jazz and Rodney Mack, is they bring different aspects to it. So no day is really the same. Like we usually start off with warm-ups, which are like rolls, like in the ring to get your body loose so you don't get hurt. But then some days Thunder will come in and she'll be like, hey, we're going to do our warm-ups like they do in Japan. And then we're standing on top of like the top rope doing squats and running and doing burpees and blowing ourselves up basically. But then you have days like, for instance, yesterday at the Dog Pound, it was Rodney, and Rodney was in charge because the other coaches had places to be. Rodney was in charge, and we did our warm-up, and then we did a drill, so to speak. I wouldn't really call it a drill because it was intense. It was scary. It was scary to watch. Okay. Basically, 2 people are in the ring, and you are trying to pin your opponent. You're like wrestling, like amateur wrestling, basically. So you're grappling, no strikes, no submissions. You're just wrestling with your opponent, trying to pin them to the ground. And it was intense. Like you got these big boys, like 230 plus, like trying to throw each other down. Like I was scared someone's knee was gonna like it was safe, but it was I overreact, as you have seen in my face on Dynamite.
That's true. And you're mentioning that because yesterday was St. Patty's Day. And we know that the teachers had somewhere to be, especially one of them who literally had hands down probably the best match I have ever seen on a Dynamite. And I'll put that on wax right now. Your guru, your dojo leader, well, 1/3 of your dojo leaders, Thunderrosa, threw it down in that lights out unsanctioned match against Britt Baker. And you were sitting right in the front row. Right before I pushed record, we talked about your face. And it's funny because when I took a video last night and posted it on my socials, and if you look at the video really close and you pause it, it's right where Thunderrosa drops Britt Baker in the thumbtacks. And then she tries to roll her up and they get the other angle. All you see is your face behind Thunderrosa and you're like, just the biggest over-exaggerated smile. I was laughing my ass off. I was like, oh, I can't wait to sit down and talk with her about that. That was so. How was it though, being front row for that gore fest? Like, let's talk about that.
It was terrifying because just when you thought like it wouldn't get any worse, it does. They bring a ladder out, and just when you didn't think it could get worse than that, they bring tacks out. And like in that instance, I was like, okay, yeah, she just power bombed her onto tacks. Like, what about your hands? Like, that has to hurt. And I was like, like I don't know how she's doing it. And then all of a sudden, like, I just see Thunder go like this, and I'm like, she got it in her hands. I knew she shouldn't be walking around with her hands down. Like, ugh. Like, I get a paper cut and I'm like, ow. They're tough. They're very tough. I was scared for Britt Baker's life at the end. Thunder killed her, but I guess she posted a tweet and she's like, you didn't kill me. And I was like, she almost had her.
But you know what? When you see matches like that, and you're up and coming yourself and you're getting your spots and you're making the right decisions and your career is going the right way. When you see spots like that and you see the barriers, like you're in a time period right now where women are no longer second fiddle. They haven't been second fiddle in this business for a very long time. And I love the AEW product, but I love Dark. And now I love Evolution a little bit more. And why? Because we get to see amazing characters like you guys coming up. You get the spots, you get a chance to perform in front of a live audience, and you get the chance to hone your craft while having all these major names watching you around the ring, watching you in the back.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, this past Tuesday's match against Vert Vixen, now you both train at the dojo together, so it's no secret that when you train together, you hit each other a little bit harder. And you definitely did not hold back, either of you, in that match. And you won with the axe kick on the back. And I got to tell you, I heard that kick. I knew it landed. I knew she dropped, and I knew it was over. And I got to say, your agility and your kicks, I mean, you're already a pretty tall, you got long legs. And that your legs are dangerous. And that kick, I heard that when she went down, I was like, damn. I think she might have dislocated some ribs. But like, where does the when you're telling a story in the ring in front of that kind of a crowd and you're hyped up and you know what it could lead to, do you find yourself really more judgmental on your passion in those situations? Do you go back and rewatch those matches and go, okay, that was a great spot, but I could have been a little cleaner there. I kind of was on tight there. Are you over judgmental, especially in those moments like that when you're on a Dark and you're honing your craft and you know you've got a lot of eyes on you? Because everyone from Dark, we look at Leah Hirsch, you had a match with her, she signed. She's now all elite. So we know that Dark, if you work your ass off in Dark, you can go to the main roster. And I know there's a spot there for you. I'm going to put it on wax right now and say there is a spot there for you. Miss Reality will be there. Literally, the AEW women's division cannot be without you. I'm going to stop using literally now. I punned it out enough. But
I like it.
Okay, then I'll keep punning it. No problem. Done. We're punning for the rest of the episode.
We'll just have a count. Yeah,
so that's 3. I've done 3 puns right now. But do you find yourself a little bit more judgmental when you go back and you watch those matches and you sit there and you kind of do you pick yourself apart a lot in those situations?
I think just being at AEW in general, I put a lot of pressure on myself before I go out and while I'm in and after the fact, because these people are like top athletes in this business, and they are watching you in the stands and they are judging you, because at like, yes, we're there right now as like, I don't want to say extras, but extras, like we're being brought in to like fight with their talent. We're not signed. We don't have as like a secured spot there. Like, we're very temporary. And these people know that, like you said, like Layla came in, she was on Dark, and she ended up getting a contract. So these people that are signed, that are watching me perform, they are very aware that how us temporary workers, or some want to call us jobbers, like it's a cuss word or whatever, like at least I got a job. Anyways, anyways but yeah, like they are very aware that we are gunning for their spots, and just as aware as they are of that, I am aware that they know that. Like, they know that I'm a threat. So it is very scary, because they're waiting for me to mess up, because they want me to mess up. Once I mess up, then they'll feel a little bit safer. They'll feel a little more secure in their contracts once time comes up for it to renew or not. But as long as me, I can only speak for myself, but hopefully my other Texas girls, as long as we keep showing AEW who we are and what we're made out of, we're going to keep that signed talent, those signed talents, like on their toes. Like, they need to be scared for their jobs, because we are out there and we are showing out. So it is very terrifying, because I feel like every minute I am being judged while I am there.
And you know what? It's not
Very
a bad.
terrifying.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be judged. And I think that terror, that adds a little bit of fire, because you know what's at the end of the rainbow. You know you have a long journey ahead of you, because it took Leah quite a bit before she got that contract. But it's not impossible. And when you see somebody evolve from Dark to the main roster, you know that the mindset is clear, and you have a great mindset for that. And I honestly and truly believe that there's a spot for you there. And I can't wait to see you tangle with Britt Baker. I can't wait to see you tangle with a Rebel, if I'm saying it right. I'm not sure how she pronounces it.
I'm not sure what.
But I can't wait. I can't wait to see you tangle with Leah Hirsch again. I can't wait to see you tangle with the list goes on and on. Rio. Mitu, there's a lot of Japanese names. I don't want to pronounce them wrong, but there's a lot of incredible crop of talent. And I can't wait to see you mix it up with that. I can't wait to see you take on your teacher. I can't wait to see when Miss Reality goes at Thunder Rosa, because does the student become the master? Like, these are situations and stories that cause for some great excitement. They do. They absolutely do. But I was actually speaking to one of your opponents a couple of days ago, and her episode is going to drop right before yours. You know, she came on to Straight Talk. Let me see if you recognize this pun. She came on to Straight Talk, and she kind of gave it a little bit of a tune-up.
Oh.
That's right. I sat down with Amber Nova, and we discussed your match at Hurricane Pro, Queens of the Ring 2. And I absolutely love that match. That's where I discovered both of you. I was surfing YouTube. I went down this YouTube rabbit hole, and I was surfing YouTube, and I stumbled upon that match. And I was like, okay, I know Amber Nova. I recognized her from NXT. I've recognized her from Impact. I'm like, but who is this? Who is this young whippersnapper? Because they're almost 37, so everybody's a young whippersnapper. I'm not a young whippersnapper anymore. I'm more of a intellectual being of kind of dad-like intelligence. Literally, that's how I see myself. But that's number 4. But that match was fantastic. I loved everything about that match. I love the story you guys told. And what I love about you is your intensity. As soon as that bell rings, you are go. You are full tilt. You don't give a shit who's in front of you. You're either going to run over them, run through them, or run around them to get that win. And the story that was told did not work out for you well that night. You got a Nova driver, and you ended up losing that match. But I got to say, 13 minutes, bell to bell, nonstop action. And I also love the amount of shit you talked in the ring. Oh, hey, listen, my car's outside. Can you give me an oil change? I was like, this kid. But talk to me about Amber Nova. Talk to me about that match. I know you remember it well.
Yeah, I was also terrified. It was very early on in my career. I think 3 months into my independent, I guess, career. So I was terrified because, again, just like you, I heard about her, seen her work on YouTube, and so I was a little bit terrified. I wasn't sure what I was going to be up against. Unfortunately, it did not go in my favor this time. Um, but yeah, no, it was definitely interesting. I don't think that anyone that I had faced before did that kind of lucha style. So it definitely threw me for a loop, I would say. Because again, like before, my first match ever was a student versus trainer match with me and Jazz does not do that stuff.
No.
She beat the crap out of me,
Yeah.
but at least she didn't like jump on the rope, grab my head, and then slam my head into the buckle with her feet somehow. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how Amber did that, but she did it.
She's definitely got that little bit of flexibility, and her speed is very underwhelming. But also so is yours.
Yeah.
And like I say, 3 months in your career, you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell. You went out there with poise and charisma, and you handled yourself well. And that, I think, shows who you were trained by. That shows that you're one of those individuals that goes and you put in the work. And if that was only 3 months into your career, that was pretty damn fucking impressive. And I've seen you evolve and grow from there. And that's not me. I say this all the time. I'm not putting puns just because you're on my show. I'm not gonna say, oh, Maddie's on my show, I gotta be nice to her. No. If there's something that I feel needs to be said, I will say it. Listen, I sat down with Moose, and the first thing I said to Moose was, I was never really a fan. But then you had a couple good matches lately, and I gotta say I'm impressed. I actually want to say I'm a fan. And he was kind of like, oh, well, thank you. I was like, no problem. It is what it is. That's why it's called Straight Talk Wrestling. I don't post any punches. I'm straight up, and I'm going to say it how it needs to be said, because that's what we do here. We literally straight talk it up. That's number 5. I've already done one hand. That's good. That's good. Okay. So you said Jazz doesn't do the fancy luchador stuff. So now you've got somebody like Jazz, who's a ground and pounder, a submissions expert. And then you've got Thunderrosa, who's got the luchador background. She's also a great submission expert. She's got incredible power. And then you got Rodney Mack. You literally got ground and pound. I will hurt you 20 ways from Sunday with my fists and my feet. You've got, I can show you speed and fly around the ring. And then you've got Roddy right in the middle, who I can just show you power. I can show you how to smack somebody so they fly across the ring and it hurts. So now you've got this trifecta. So what is Madi working on currently right now? Because I call these situations level up moments. It's when you're looking at everything that you've accomplished already. You're looking at what's in your arsenal, and you sit there and you think, you know what? I got to add something. I've got to add that next layer to evolve to the next stage of my career. Are you currently working on anything that we might see in a future Dark? Are we working on more high flying stuff? Are we working on more maybe moonsaults, maybe, luchador styles? Or are we just going to stick to what we've seen, but add a little Texas flavor to it?
I mean, I definitely cannot say that you're going to see me do like a moonsault or a backflip or anything like that anytime soon. It took a lot of convincing for me to get my feet off the ground in the first place. Okay. So definitely not that, but I do have to agree with you. Because again, I did start at hybrid, and with Chris Marvel, he's very technical. He had a seminar one time where he brought in Jazz, Rodney, Funaki, and then they ended up joining Hybrid School of Wrestling. And so that whole beginning, when I was figuring out how to wrestle and how I wrestle, I had Jazz and Rodney with that killer instinct, like kill or be killed, like know how to protect yourself if you need to. If some girl wants to get cute with you, get cute back, and not actually cute. And then Funaki, who is incredible. Like, he is an incredible person, and he is an incredible trainer. Like, to get to have, like, one day, we had like one training day that I asked for, where it was just specifically like him, me, and like 2 other girls. And like right after, he made me like almost want to throw up with how many rolls we did in a row, because he's like, if something happens in the ring and you accidentally get hit and you're like dizzy and you're discombobulated, like what are you gonna do? Like you can't just give up. And so he made us do like these diamond rolls, and I thought I was going to throw up. And he's like, okay, you ready to practice? I was like, what? That wasn't it? Like the only time I have ever thrown up during training is literally doing rolls. Like they have put us through like hell with cardio, matches, everything like that is fine. And then the 2 times I've thrown up 2 times during training, and each time it was doing rolls, just rolls on rolls on rolls. And that is why I don't go on roller coasters. And everyone's like, you're such a baby, it's not that bad. I'm like, no, trust me. It is that bad.
You're like me. I don't go on roller coasters either, because I don't like that feeling that you get in your stomach. I don't like that feeling.
And
when
that's
you feel
exactly
your stomach go
how
up and
it
then go
is.
down. I don't like it. No, I don't like it. I feel you.
Me
I think
neither.
I think you and I are on the same wavelength. Roller coasters are not okay, and they should not be allowed.
No, I hate them. I hate them so much. Like, why would you want to feel like that?
Because there are people out there who are sick and demented people. Maddie, that's the problem.
That is true.
They're sick and demented.
That is true.
Anybody that rides a roller coaster, you adrenaline junkie assholes, you've ruined the world for the rest of us. So let's talk about your home life for a second. So let's go circle back to that situation. So you got your degree. What did you get your degree in school in? What was the degree? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was a biology degree with a certification in wildlife.
Very cool. Very cool. Very, very cool. So you're about to go, to that national park, volcano erupts, and then bam, Mom, I'm going to be a wrestler. Mom told you to get your degree when things didn't work out with the job. You went and said, okay, so I got the degree. It's here. Look, fancy piece of paper. We paid a lot of money for right here. Now I'm going to go do what I want to do. What was Mom's reaction to that? Actually, first off, give me your brother's reaction, and then give me your mom's reaction, because I know they were definitely polar opposites.
See, surprisingly, they were not. All my family is super supportive. My family is always behind me, I guess I could say. They always at my shows whenever they can be. So even when I'm doing like the worst things in the world to try and win, there's always like my dad chanting my name. I'm like, thanks, man. Always in the back, decked out in like his literally shirt, his welcome to reality mask, like everything. We just made him a sweatshirt too, so he'll probably be donning that at some point.
We're gonna have to get him in the front row in the dark with that sweatshirt. We're gonna have to get him in the front row for sure.
Maybe, but yeah, so they're all very, very supportive. My brother actually designs my gear and my mom makes it. So it's a very hands-on family experience. And so I definitely am fortunate enough to have that support system behind me. And I think that's what's helped me get to where I am, because wrestling is definitely mentally draining.
Absolutely. And it's been a trying time this year, right? I mean, we're talking, 2019, you had that match with, Amber. So you're 3 months in, and then COVID hits. So you're literally about a year in, COVID hits, stonewalls everything. But the States is doing a lot more for that. I give kudos where credit is, because where I'm from in Canada, we haven't had a show in a year and a half. And there haven't been, restrictions have not been lifted. There hasn't been a show to go to. And I'm hoping, I can't wait for the summertime to come, because at least then we can do parking lot shows, which would be great. Social distance, of course. But you guys are all still kind of steadily working when work is there, and you're doing all these things. And then you get the spots on Dark. And again, another great match that you had on Dark that I want to touch on is the match you had with Leela Hirsch. You lost to that devastating arm breaker that she puts on. And, Leah, it's funny because a lot of people, when they see Leela, they think automatically, oh, okay, she's 4'0", nothing. There's no problem. You have the height advantage, but the height advantage does not help when somebody else has the power game that she has.
Yeah.
So how is it tangling with somebody like her, and then you tangle with Leva Bates twice, and that is somebody who's been in the business for a very long time and has a very a big history, and then you're wrestling Nova. Your first match was against Jazz. Like, you've literally been in the ring with people who are all different styles, and every time I see you go up against somebody that has that different style, I see you come back and you incorporate that style. I noticed a lot more kicks against Vert Vixen than I did against Leva Bates the first match. I got to go back and watch the second one, which I will. But it seems every time you go into the ring, you take something away from it and you add that to your repertoire. I noticed the strikes. Definitely you got some power behind your strikes, and that comes from Jazz. I know that comes from Jazz.
Well, it also came from the fact that I was going in there respectful. I was like, this is my Texas sister. We're going to leave the Texas drama behind, even though she's trying to steal my title back home. Like, I was like, put this aside. This is AEW. And you can tell if you watch that match, I came in there respectfully, and she came in like hot off the get-go. Like, as soon as the bell rang, she just like came at me, and I wasn't expecting that, and that was on me. I will give her that. She caught me off guard. Was not expecting that from her. So that's kind of like, she hit me first. Like, it wasn't even like a sportsmanship, like, we're both from Texas, we traveled together. Like, there was some animosity behind her hits. Like, she just came at me, and I was not expecting that. So yeah, my strikes, especially at the beginning, were a lot harder than anything you've ever seen, because she pissed me off. Like, I was like, what? Like, I was expecting it to be like a friendly competition type thing. And then all of a sudden she just comes with that blow out of nowhere. I was like, it shook me a little bit.
You got the ponytail a little tighter, and he said, okay, let's dance. You want to do that? Let's dance.
Yeah, I was like, what? I was literally shook. I was shook.
So you said she's trying to steal your title back home. So
yes,
which and that's, and if I'm right in my research, and I hope I am, because the internet's not always truthful, we know this, it's the PPW Women's Championship, right? That is a fantastic looking title, and it does look great draped around your shoulder. So she's trying to steal. She's trying to steal the title.
Yes, she is, and it's rude.
That's it. Then she's never coming on Straight Talk Wrestling, because I literally will not have that on my show. That's
exactly.
Number 6.
We don't have thievery.
We don't have thievery. So you weren't
every time. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you weren't expecting that. She came at you with all this fire, but then you ended up turning it around on her anyway. So it worked in your favor. You going in, not expecting it to be that way, worked out with that sweet axe kick to the back that dropped her. So it's all good. It's all love.
Yeah, to give her the reality check.
Reality check. That's it. And she took it. And you got the 1, 2, 3. So that's great. Yeah. So what is the next steps for Madi Wrenkowski? Where do we go from here? Obviously, we tighten up the training. We want to get more exposure on AEW, but are you open to any other promotion? Because right now, like you said, you're not tied down. If, say, an Impact or a New Japan or an MLW were to call you and say, hey, listen, let's get you over here. Because MLW, they don't have a women's division yet, but they do have some bright spots. So they could be looking.
I heard they're supposed to. They're supposed to start before the pandemic, right?
Right, but it got stonewalled. But now with everything going on again, Fusion is back up and running on a weekly basis. Maybe it's about time that Court Bauer and company get together and we start seeing some ladies in that ring representing MLW. So if that happens, would you be opposed to any options thrown out on the table? Because you are a free agent. You're not tied down.
I am a free agent. Like Beyonce says, if they like it, then they should have put a ring on it. That's right. If they like me so much, let's put it in writing. Literally, let's give her that contract. Exactly. But until then, my options are open. I love AEW, though. I love the environment. I think the environment is very different than any of the companies thus far. that I have even had a glimpse into. I've done a little bit of work for WWE and Impact. But again, there's nothing like the backstage environment at AEW. It is like words, like the way when they started, how they said they were going to be different than other companies. I think that they have held true to that. They're very welcoming. And to be able to have people like Dustin, who have been in this business forever, come and be so open and willing to give you advice or ask you if you have any questions and ask how you're doing, and to have Eddie Kingston like be there as a mentor and like allow me to like ask him questions and just talk to him. Like they are superstars, but they don't have that superstar mentality. They have such love for the business that they are willing to share it even with people who they don't even know if they're going to be returning next week, which is incredible. And I think that's really kind of how you tell that AEW has such an incredible roster, that they're so willing to help people who could be like going for their spots. I mean, I don't know, I'm not a guy, obviously, so like so like those guys that I just named like aren't like, oh man, she's gonna steal my spot. So it might be different. But even like Layla, like after our match and like every single time that I've been there afterwards, she's been so incredibly nice. She's such an incredible human being. But at the same time, I think that, again, everyone knows that we're there competing, but the fact that she knows that we are competing for a spot on TV or a spot on Dark or whatever, like, and she's still that willing to offer advice that she, like, situations that she's come across. Like, that's incredible. AEW has done a great job at choosing their talent. So I would love to be there if they would take me. But again,
ain't no ring, ain't no thing. But you know what?
Exactly.
It's great to hear about that backstage environment. It's great to hear that there's that welcoming environment. And it's great to hear that the way I look at it is much like the podcast game. We either all grow together or we don't grow at all.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. They all have their contracts. They all have their spots. They're all doing their situations. Eddie Kingston is a promo fucking god. So even if I were to sit down and talk with him for 5 minutes, I'd be like, forget the interview. Just cut a promo on me. Make fun of my hair. Do whatever you want to do. Like, you're Eddie Kingston. And it's great to hear that that's the environment that's there, because we hear about all the other organizations. We hear that all the other organizations are very professional and they're all about business, and they know, okay, this is it. Time. Boom. Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. And it gets done, and it gets done very well. It's a great time to be a fan, but it's also a great time to be a young talent, because you're literally able to go back there. You're able to pick the brain of anybody that you want to. You're able to ask the questions, and why wouldn't they want to answer? At the end of the day, their career is in the midst of it, or might even be at the tail end of it, or might be well past, like a Paul Wright, who's coming in just to guide and help talent grow, and which is great to see. And then you look at,
he's huge.
Oh, I have no doubt. I've never met him in person. No doubt.
It's so scary. You just, a shadow gets cast over you, and you're like, what?
But you know what? It's interesting, because when I sit down and I think about everything that you're saying, and I think about how great the conversation's been, and I do have a couple more questions, and I'm going to let you go enjoy your evening. It's something that I'm quoting now on a regular basis, and I learned this from Mark Merrill when I sat down with him. He's one of the most positive people that I've ever had a conversation with. And he said, live in moments, not time. So when you're thinking about all these things that you've learned, like the moments that you mentioned, Eddie Kingston sitting down, picking his brain, Leah Hirsch, her helping you and giving you advice, and everyone that you've been able to sit down and have a conversation with, that backstage environment, those are moments. Those are moments that make the decision very easy. And at the end of the day, it's not about money. It's not about titles. It's not about prestige. It's not even about TV time. It's about the all-important experience factor. And if you get that experience, you grow. And I have seen you grow since December of last year, when you literally had the biggest debut in Dark. That's 8. We're at 8 now. I'm going to try to get to 10 before the end of the interview. You had great debuts. You had great matches. You've told great stories. And the world is your oyster. So my final 2 questions, and we're going to wrap it up. Dream match I know it's a Mark question, but everybody's got a dream match. It could be somebody who's passed on. It could be somebody that you might only be able to face in a video game. It could be somebody that's there now. It could be somebody that you want to pull out of retirement and literally give them the final send off. That's number 9. We're 1 away from 10. But do you have a dream match yourself?
I mean, I think I always say that I would love to get like beat up by Rhea Ripley. But I think for this podcast, I'm going to change it up a little bit. And I think I would like to step into the ring with Enzo Amore, or at least have him cut a promo on me, because he is also one of the main factors why I picked and ran with the reality gimmick. So
I like it. And what do we got here?
Yeah.
Got a cup of haters? Cup of haters?
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. But that's a great dream match. And I think intergender wrestling is something that needs to be more in the forefront. I don't think women are second fiddle to men. I think women tell just as great stories as men. I'll be honest with you, in some of the divisions that are out there now, I think the women put in more of the work and have better stories told in the ring than the men do. It was proof in the pudding, is what we saw last night. That main event was stellar. Those ladies rocked it. That was a 10-star match. That was literally hands down my favorite episode of Dynamite since the inception. It was the most complete match. And I also noticed during that match, and this was my other question, my last question, when MJF was cutting his promo, you and the young lady beside you were very vocal about booing him. And at one point during his promo, I could have sworn he stared down at your side of the ring. Am I right in that? Did he look you two in the eyes when he was cutting his promo a little bit?
I don't know. Whenever he talks, I kind of just see red. I know, I think it was like last week or so when he first like turned on the Inner Circle, I kept getting like videos sent after Dynamite of my reaction, and like it was true, and everyone's like, oh my God, you're such a fan, and I'm like, yes, I am, that's why I'm here. Like he's just so arrogant.
He is, but he does it so well. He does it so well.
Yeah.
You can't hate him. And you as well. You come in very arrogant and confident. I think you know what? You might be literally, there's number 10. You might be literally at the top of the pinnacle. They need a girl in the pinnacle. And I think the pinnacle could use a little dose of reality. That's what I think.
I mean, I'll submit my resume.
Submit your resume. I think you qualify. You have qualifications for the job 100%. And my this is actually a question that now I have to ask, because you've made me think of this question. If there's one wrestler who you could sit down with and just have a conversation with, pick their brain for 5 minutes, who would that wrestler be? I know it's a lot, but if there's somebody that you could sit down and have a cup of coffee with, not even 5 minutes, let's say a cup of coffee, and just ask them all the questions you've wanted to, who would that be? I can tell you mine if it makes it easier.
Go ahead.
Mine is DDP.
Who's yours?
That's my ultimate dream conversation, is to sit down with Diamond Dallas Page and just talk to
him. That's a good one. Funaki recently introduced me to Mako Satomura. I think I would love to pick her brain wrestling wise. But again, Enzo, I think that he just has a way with not like his words, but just the way he connected with people. And I think that is honestly what really sold me on wrestling, because he is his annoying self. Like, he is who he is. And the first time I ever saw him was the first time NXT made its way to Texas. And I will never forget, my brother bought us tickets to the show in Austin, Texas. And we went. I cannot even tell you who else was on the card. I'd never seen NXT at that moment. But I vividly remember him and Vidcast coming out. And I think they were in like, there were 2 other tag teams in the ring with them. But I only remember him and Cass coming out, him doing his whole spiel my name is Enzo Amore. And literally that whole little arena, that whole little crowd that was there, everyone was repeating after him. And like, everyone was just like with him. And it wasn't necessarily like the fact that they were like cheering with him that was like, ooh, so cool. It was the fact that he had all of these people like in the palm of his hand. Like he spoke and they wanted to speak with him. And so I'm not saying I like power, but it feels pretty dang good to have power. And I think he had a way of words and a way to entertain and draw people in. Because I'm gonna be honest, there are a lot of times where I tuned in to Monday Night Raw just to see what he would say, or even when they kicked him to 205 Live, like that has to be one of my favorite things, is when he had all of the 205 Live roster outside of the ring and he just sat and insulted each and every one of them, knowing full like well that they could like his butt, but he still did it. And he still like called Neville like Gollum or something like that. And I was like, dang. And it was kind of true, but like, dang, he could kill you. And it was just great. And that's why I love him. Like he's going to say what he has to say. And that's how I feel. Like if someone annoys me, that you just got to say it and deal with the consequences later, I guess.
That's right. Straight talk.
And that's how your 4-year-old's going to be. So watch out.
100%. I agree with it. And you know what? One day, very soon, you will have the whole world eating out of the palm of your hand. And I put my stamp on that. You are now officially a member of the Straight Talk family. Anytime you want to come back, I would absolutely love to have you on the show, because much like you, here, I am straight up, I am straight truth, I am straight to the point. So, Madi, let everyone in the wonderful world know where they could find you on the social media platforms.
Yes, I am on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Madi _Wrenkowski. That's MADI_WRENKOWSKI. If you can spell it, you can find it. And on each of those sites in the bio, you can find the link to my merchandise website.
Absolutely. Support. And I'm a glutton for self-promotion, so I'm just going to go ahead and shoot my self-promotion. And who knows, maybe literally when I'm done this episode, that's number 11, I'll get a follow. That would be sweet. That'll be sweet. A little dose of Miss Reality. But on Twitter, I am at _Straight Talk. On Instagram and on Facebook. I know Facebook's an old person platform, so we don't have to mention that. Madi does have a Facebook page too, but she doesn't want to share it because she's young and hip. Straight Talk Wrestling on Instagram and Facebook, and YouTube is Straight Talk Wrestling. And also you can find a link to all of those to my merchandise, which is on Pro Wrestling Tees. Support, because anything I do goes to better equipment and goes to securing fantastic guests like this wonderful young lady who is the future of the business. Madi, this has been an absolutely amazing conversation. I appreciate the time you gave me today. And I really mean this when I say it. I can't wait to do it again. I've never laughed so hard during conversation. You are an absolute pleasure. You're a future superstar, and you are somebody to definitely keep their eyes on. 100%.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. You enjoy the rest of your evening, and we will talk very soon.
Yes, you as well.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode on all available podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. Also, check us out on YouTube at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And if you feel the need to buy some sweet merch, check us out on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Leaving the scene with no trace, not in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top. I'm outer space. Can't eat with us. We're out of place. I'm doing fine. I'm feeling great. You're not my fan. You can't relate. Straight talk going state to state.